I looked at the philosophical side of manipulation, and the definition was a form of influence that is neither coercion nor rational persuasion.
Mm.
So do you think that magic is a form of manipulation? And if so, is there ethical manipulation?
Per that definition, yes and no. I would agree that magic is manipulation insofar as that it's not coercion. Whether something is rational is a hard question, right? It's a concept I really love from philosopher Tamar Gendler, this idea of a leaf,
Mhm.
which is adjacent to belief. And so she talks about the idea of like what we reasonably or rationally know to be true versus what we leave. If I go to one of the various kind of skyscraper observatories that have like a glass bottom, I can rationally believe that that is safe to stand on. I know there's been years and millions of dollars of engineering that has made that safe. And yet, I'm concurrently holding that rational belief and also this kind of almost like a visceral belief that I'm not safe. Is this reasonable to believe that I'm my neighbor across the way is gonna hang laundry on her second story back deck? That unquestionably, this like old rickety wooden porch, unquestionably less safe than the glass bottom observatory. And yet I'm quite positive that that woman is never rationally thinking about viscerally feeling unsafe. She's not leaving her level of safety, but it is feeling rationally safe to her, even though maybe those things should be switched. So I think that talking about what is a reasonable belief to hold in terms of is magic manipulation. Magic basically takes an audience through having you experience things that feel very rational and then having you believe things that are very irrational. Part of my like background job is in the service of trying to create sort of this impossible seeming kind of violation of a law of nature. Like as magicians, we know what almost for an architecture analogy, we know what like the end shape of a building is that we're trying to accomplish. It is also not possible to accomplish that in the real world. And so you have this impossible building you're trying to construct. And so then what you're trying to do is create scaffolding that surrounds this forming kind of like the skin of the shape of this building that can't exist. As a magician, we're trying to take an audience through building scaffolding so that an audience can make inferences that seem reasonable at different stable points where people will mentally take certain inferences where the technical gaps are that can't actually happen in the real world. So it's like, I know there's a gap here. So there needs to be a support pillar that seems reasonable or that seems like a rational thing to believe here and here. So people, kind of make this leap that feels rational and yet is actually not genuinely supported, but the two things on either side are genuinely supported. And so a lot of magic is just creating basically like 360-degree scaffolding of taking an audience through visual cues, through language, through social behavior, through all of these things that perhaps are manipulative, to
Mhm.
basically have them jumping from a reasonable claim to another reasonable claim to kind of etch this out so that something feels like they've gotten to an end conclusion through reasonable claims. It feels close to like paradoxes, kind of way.